People get to the point of nihilism and meaninglessness and anger. And I know you all think Israel's a real proud nation, but they're really a bunch of wimps. Last I checked, this was Israel's land. You go up there, your life's at risk. You go 200 yards that way into the Silwan Valley, your life's at risk. You go 150 yards that way, you're in the Arab quarter, your life's at risk. Because think about it, we don't think about it this way, but you need nationalism to build that thing. And I know you all think Israel's a real proud nation, but they're really a bunch of wimps. We have stools for this. For them, we have stools. What's that? Are you having stools reserved already? Okay, excellent. So in the end, they're really a bunch of wimps. And I know all of you at various times have gotten, your pom-poms out for Zionism, and me too. I mean, obviously, we're just so proud of ourselves. And I just came from Ashdod, and believe me, I was thankful for highways. Gratitude and reality don't have to conflict. You can live in reality and still have gratitude to the state of Israel for all they provide. It's not a conflict. You can be anywhere because everyone's over there because they wanted backrests. But once you're on that, you can be anywhere. If you have a stool, you can just sit anywhere. Get a good seat. Get good seats. I don't know how many of you grew up in a Western country, but I imagine if you understand my English, you're either from the US, Canada, England, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand. And generally where Westerners go, they like to swing their elbows around. They like a little space. Little freedom. I grew up in California. I could go west for hundreds and hundreds of miles, and all I do is get to a bunch of friendly Hawaiians. I could go north and just drive all the way to Alaska. Freedom. I could drive east for days and find myself making all kinds of new friends on my way to New York. I could drive south and be down there. I mean, today Mexico's not so safe, but when I grew up, we spent a lot of time surfing in Mexico, all over Baja, on the mainland, down into Central America. Just friendly people, iguanas and bananas and good stuff. But right now, you're just in a little rat trap. You're in a rat trap. It's just that you've been so blind because when you're born into something, you don't know you're enslaved, but you're inside a cage. You're in a little rat trap, a political rat trap too, because the last I checked, this is a sovereign country. Last I checked, after the '67 war, our borders moved from the waters off Tel Aviv till the Jordan River, last I checked. But somehow, you're inside this trap. Literally, from where I'm looking out this window, at that ramp that goes to the Temple Mount, for many years you weren't allowed through there. Now you could go through there, but there'll be someone watching your lips to make sure you don't pray. You'll have guards, because if you don't have guards, you'll be slaughtered on your own Temple Mount. 80,000 people every Friday go into that building there, which was our Sanhedrin of our courts, where Torah went from the Temple Mount to the world. We don't believe in separation of church and state. Our Torah tells us every single thing that any civil lawyer ever knew. Every court in the world goes off Talmudic law. You put the Talmud up there with the Sanhedrin. You put the Talmud up there with the temple. How do you know what's right and wrong without God? How can you separate the two? And yet we all were born asleep into a world that thought they should be separate. And now sit here right now after a week of mass killings in America. What happens when you separate things? People get to the point of nihilism and meaninglessness and anger. And now it's a giant mosque, 80,000 Arabs put their butts up to the Holy of Holies, facing south to Mecca. Kids playing soccer up there. Trees are not allowed the Torah commands us not to have trees on the Temple Mount. I'm staring at a forest now. It's a forest. Last I checked, this was Israel's land. Won fair and square in war. Not to mention, by the way, if you think war is not fair and square, you should check your history books. And won fair and square with a UN vote. Of course, that means nothing to anybody. You go up there, your life's at risk. You go 200 yards that way into the Silwan Valley, your life's at risk. You go 150 yards that way, you're in the Arab quarter, your life's at risk. Just tonight itself will cost hundreds of thousands of shekels in security. Because we don't have the courage to not have murderers all around us. We don't have the courage to rebuild our capital. This is our capital. Open your eyes. The majority of not just the majority, like 98% of the people who are on the Supreme Court of this country, who make the decisions of our civil laws, the basic major value calls of our country are made by probably 98% of them are not even kosher to give testimony that they saw a fender bender in Jewish law. They can't even give testimony that they saw a car clip a parked car. Their testimony would be thrown out because they are pasule edut. And they're making the decisions in this country. Anyone who's one of my veteran students knows that I never speak this way. Except on Tisha B'Av, because we gotta wake up. And I'm not saying let's wake up and build the temple. We got to wake up and understand what missing the temple means in our daily lives, because you wind up getting claimed by Esav. Because when Jacob and Esav are upstairs deciding who's who, because of the madness that gets perpetuated in a world that we call normal, Esav can easily claim you. And Yaakov's just got to look at Esav and say, what can I say? She's yours. What can I say? He's yours, says Esav. Tonight we scream to Yaakov and we say, no, I'm yours. I'm yours. And we're in a whole lot of trouble. Not only have we gotten in a lot of trouble, but we're heading into trouble. So our silent meditation begins with the forefathers. And the things, the values that the forefathers represented are walked on daily, and we do nothing about it. We ourselves walk on it. As Bob Marley said, how long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? The second blessing that God supports the fallen and heals the sick, releases the confined. Resuscitates the dead. I mean, if you can get anything further from your mind of resuscitation of the dead, I can't even go there. I'm not even going to go there, but like every day, this seems to be important, and I don't think any of us are quite sure why. The next one is God's sanctity. That He is Kadosh in His essence. He is holy in how He manifests. And the holy ones every day praise Him. Is that where we're at? And the next one for knowledge and wisdom. Clarity, which we've already discussed, the loss of clarity. Teshuvah is the next bracha. And how many of us are in a teshuvah process? Asking forgiveness. The next one's about redemption. Goel Yisrael, the Redeemer of Israel. Do any of us really care? We all really care, but I'm going shopping now. Tell me about redemption after we shop. Health and healing's closer to home. So I think we're aware of that. And the next one is prosperity. I think we're quite aware of our need for prosperity. But the next one is about the ingathering of the exiles, that we ask God to gather us in from the four corners of the earth. This is of low priority. You know, I lead Shabbatons around the world. I get hired for Shabbatons. And many times when I do a Shabbaton somewhere, I'm not going to mention what cities have said this to me, but I've been told many times before I do a Shabbaton, Rabbi Glazer, if you don't mind, please don't mention moving to Israel to our community. Now, I understand, I'm not that, you may be sickened by hearing that. I'm not that sickened because obviously I must have really overdone it. You know, I probably gave a Shabbaton there and like totally overdid the importance of moving to Israel. But I meet people all the time. Either there are 85% of our compatriots, a percentage of them who are actually against Israel, a percentage who are Zionistic, but never in their life would they dream of moving here. But it goes all the way to the black hat community, where they love Israel, but I'm telling you, when they talk about it, I want to throw up. I mean, they're all excited. They come up to me like, I came in from Jerusalem, so I'm visiting in Brooklyn and the Hasidic communities. And one of them would come up to me and say, I love Israel. We were there last year. As if I'm meeting some guy named, you know, whatever, you know, Billy Jim Bob in like Louisiana who came here with his church. But like someone who actually lives his life based on the dictates of the prophecies, speaks to Jerusalem about Israel like a fun place to visit. And that same person 3 times a day talks about the ingathering of the exiles, prays for the ingathering. But for the last 70 years, could literally go to a travel agent and book their flight one way. And many of them actually send their kids here. We have a whole area in northeast Jerusalem. It's called Ramat Eshkol, Malot Dafna, Arzeh Bira. Northeast Jerusalem, to the northeast. I call it married student housing, like they call it in universities. Because every one of them knows that their days are numbered till their parents pull them back to Lakewood or Brooklyn or Long Island. I found a deeply Hasidic couple. They'd been here for years. They already had 5 kids, completely Israeli kids. She made sure she had them outside of Israel, though, just so there shouldn't be any problems with the army. So all 5 kids were born outside of Israel and never given citizenship. And he came up to me sad one day and he said to me that he's leaving Israel. I said, why are you leaving Israel? He says, our time's up. And what do you mean your time's up? He says, our parents say we have to come back. I'm like, you still ask your parents what they say? How old are you? He's like, I'm 35. I say, you can go. You and your wife want to go? Go. I'll take your kids. Don't take these kids out of here. You can't do that to these kids. And I said to him, the truth is it's forbidden for you to go. And I know this guy was a very serious Talmud Chacham and rabbi, a real scholar. I said, there's no way for you to go, man. It's forbidden. There's only a few reasons you can leave Israel, and those reasons are long gone. You can leave to make a living. You can make a living here, and he was running a shul. He had an income. You can find a shidduch, but there's a hell of a lot more shidduchim here than there are out there. You can leave to learn Torah. But, you'd have to be crazy to leave Israel to learn Torah. And the last one is the only reason you could leave today. It's the only one left. And that's to redeem someone who was kidnapped. You're allowed to leave Israel for that. You're also allowed to break Shabbos for that. And that's why if I go to America for a wedding or something that I have to be at, I always make sure that I try to bring a Jew home. And I've brought home many Jews. Literally, like, brought people to the airport with me to return, because I'm going to bring back a kidnapped Jew. But I can't just go to a wedding in America, make a bracha under a chuppah, and fly back without having reached out to somebody, to someone who was kidnapped out there by the Gentile forces in the United States of Esav. So I said to him, if you want to leave Israel, you're going to have to ask a very big rabbi. He says, we did. They said, move back to America. I said, you're kidding. Who'd you go to? He says, my father and my wife's father are Dayanim. They said, we're coming home. Home was America. Their parents, both fathers of the couple, were judges in Jewish courts.